Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Bol. Jai Mr. Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad Divine Grace. ISKCON be found at Acharya Srila Prabhupada Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad Divine Grace. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindaki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Jai. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Narayana Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Madhirayet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat vittama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service unto the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Move here. So I can. Okay. On this 6th day of February 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, Chapter 9, Dhruva Maharaj returns home. Text number 26. Where did that go? Put the drum back. All right. I should have put it on pause. Okay, man. You ready? Maitreya Uvacha. Ityarchitaksa Bhagavan. Atidishyatmanam padam. Balasya Pashyato Dhama. Samagad Garuda Dvajaha. Maitreya Uvacha. Ityarchitaksa Bhagavan. Atidishyatmanak padam. Balasya Pashyato Dhama. Samagad Garuda Dvajaha. Maitreya Uvacha. Ityarchitaksa Bhagavan. Atidishyatmanak padam. Atidishyatmanak padam. Balasya Pashyato Dhama. Samagad Garuda Dvajaha. Maitreya Uvacha. Ityarchitaksa Bhagavan. Atidishyatmanak padam. Balasya Pashyato Dhama. Samagad Garuda Dvajaha. Go ahead. Maitreya Uvacha. Ityarchitaksa Bhagavan. Atidishyatmanak padam. Balasya Pashyato Dhama. Samagad Garuda Dvajaha. Can you read it, Santosh? Maitreya Uvacha. Ityarchitaksa Bhagavan. Atidishyatmanak padam. Balasya Pashyato Dhama. Samagad Garuda Dvajaha. Maitreya Uvacha. The great sage Maitreya continued to speak. Iti, thus. Architaha, being honored and worshipped. Saha, the Supreme Lord. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Atidishya, after offering. Atmanaha, his personal. Padam, residence. Balasya, while the boy. Pashyataha,
was looking on. Dhamma, to his abode. Svam, own. Agat, he returned. Garuda Dvajaha, Lord Vishnu, whose flag bears the emblem of Garuda. Translation. The great sage Maitreya said, after being worshipped and honored by the boy, Dhruva Maharaj, and after offering him his abode, Lord Vishnu, on the back of Garuda, returned to his abode as Dhruva Maharaj looked on. Purport. From this verse it appears that Lord Vishnu awarded Dhruva Maharaj the same abode in which he, Vishnu, resides. Vishnu's abode is described in the Bhagavad Gita 15.6. Yad gadva nanavartante taddama padamang mama. What does that mean? Yes, and that's the end of that purport. So I'm going to read the next verse. Sopi sankalpajam Vishno pada sevo pasaditam prapya sankalpa nirvanam natiprito bhagatpuram. Despite having achieved the desired result of his determination by worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj was not very pleased. Thus he returned to his home. Purport. By worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service as instructed by Narada Muni, Dhruva Maharaj achieved the desired result. His desire was to get a very exalted position, excelling that of his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. And although it was a somewhat childish determination, because Dhruva Maharaj was nothing but a small child, Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is so kind and merciful that he fulfilled Dhruva's desire. Dhruva Maharaj wanted a residence more exalted than any ever occupied by anyone else in his family. Therefore he was offered the planet in which the Lord personally resides, and his determination was completely satisfied. Still, when Dhruva Maharaj returned home, he was not very much pleased, for although in pure devotional service there is no demand from the Lord, because of his childish nature, he had demanded something. Thus, although the Lord also fulfilled his desire, he, Dhruva, was not very much pleased. Rather, he was ashamed that he had demanded something from the Lord, for he should not have done this. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Udmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, these verses describe, especially the second verse, how Dhruva Maharaj was a little bit disappointed. He was disappointed in his earlier self, because Dhruva had undoubtedly undergone a radical transformation here. It's mentioned here in this verse and the next verse also, I believe, that it was kind of a petulant, kind of childish motivation. After all, he's only a 5-year-old boy. But he was endowed with the determination of the Kshatriya race. And that determination was his salvation, really. So, having that desire, you know the story, he was upset because his father wouldn't let him, his mother, his stepmother, forbade him from sitting on his father's lap. And so he went to his mother, and his mother said, well, your stepmother's actually right. You're going to have to get the mercy of God to solve this problem. So off he went to the forest, met Narada. Narada tested him, and he passed the test. So Narada gave him the instructions, which were unbelievably austere program that he engaged in, but it was saturated with bhakti. He was chanting the holy name, he was thinking of the Lord in the heart, he was worshipping rudimentary deity worship, and performing unbelievable and inconceivable austerities. So, because of his determination and his very strict following, he became completely purified, and got the darshan of the Lord. Of course, that was also kind of a unusual situation, because Vishnu came down in order to save the whole universe, because he had entrained the entire breathing process of the universe, and demigods were getting suffocated. But however it happened, Dhruva ended up getting the direct darshan of Krishna. He was in ecstasy. His heart was completely purified, and he expressed that both in his prayers here and in the famous prayer ending, Swamim Kritartos Mibadang Nayache. Oh Lord, I don't want anything else. I certainly don't want that stupid kingdom that I was praying for. But despite that, he had achieved the real goal, which is pure love for Krishna, but he was still awarded this planet after his death, upon which he could live forever, and was really an associate of Vishnu. It's a planet. It's a Vaikuntha planet. There's two different versions. One is that the planet is destroyed at the end of Brahma's life, but more recently we heard it's not destroyed. That it's an eternal Vaikuntha planet. But in any case, his life was a success. But here, internally, he wasn't very pleased. He regretted having prayed for anything material before. And so that's a very interesting psychological factor there, because if there's any religion in this world, the vast amount of religion is undergone for some material purpose. Krishna himself says, Chaturvadabhajan Janasukutanordjan Arto Jigyasur Artarti Gyani Chabadatarshaba. So there's four kinds of pious souls who do approach me, as opposed to the Buddhas and the Asuras and the lowest of mankind who don't approach me. And they are the distressed. I would say that that's really a basic motivation for everyone to worship God, is that there's some distress in your life. And of course, if it's artarti, which is for some wealth, that's also a kind of distress, if you're very poor. So I think that if you look at religions throughout the world, that's a central motivation. There is also a higher motivation. One is curious about the philosophy of God, or one is a jnani. Now it's interesting that this fourth category, in the subsequent two verses in the 7th chapter, Krishna is really describing a pure devotee there, which he culminates in Bahunam Jamanamante Jnanavam Mampapadyade. So he's really describing someone who is possessing knowledge. In that, Udara Savevaite, they're all magnanimous, but the Jnani, who's in full knowledge of me and is a pure devotee, he says, Bhakti, then he's most dear to me. I regard as my very self. So the point is the question is how to get from here to there. We're in a state of full ignorance. We don't know anything. And in one sense, that's a good qualification, because otherwise, like in India, people know all kinds of things. They're already committed to this God, that God. They think they know Krishna. I know the Gita. I've read it from childhood, and that serves as a barrier to submissive oral reception of the actual acharya, oftentimes. So we have this great qualification of knowing nothing about anything and being really low and dina-hina. If we get the association of pure devotees, and if we take advantage of that association and are receptive to the message, then we're in a better position than those who have all kinds of things in their head floating around about this God, that God, this goddess, that goddess, and rituals I learned from childhood and everything like that. So that was what impelled Prabhupada to come to America, come to the West. Bhaktisiddhanta knew it, that Lord Chaitanya predicted it. And the only way it can happen is if the chanting actually spreads. Because the chanting of Hare Krishna changes everything. As soon as you chant with a little sincerity, a little concentration, no matter what your background may be, you don't know anything about anything, you performed all kinds of sins, purification is so great that you become interested in Krishna. Not interested in Vedic culture or anything like that. You're interested in Krishna. And that opens up the channel to hear Bhagavad Gita and hear Bhagavatam purely. And that's why this movement is spread. So Dhruva is a great lesson in many, many respects. The first one is the determination to know God. That has to be there. One has to be curious, and more than curious, to really understand who we are and who God is. It's like I discovered this poem that I had written years ago that I forgot about. Zach insists that was something that he remembers, which I lost now. What does it say? you're not that body, spirit, soul. So understand your real goal. To love your Lord as He loves you. And thus to your own self be true. And thus to your true self be true. So I was looking up that famous quote, Shakespeare, to thine own self be true. So a lot of people get into that. But what does that really mean? If you don't understand who you really are, who the self is, then you're thinking, oh yes, I have to be true to my emotions, I have to be true to my genealogy. This whole thing now where you can look up your genealogy, who you really are. I got this relative back there, That's complete ignorance. It's illusion. So to thine own self be true is good if you know what that self is. And that's why the first line is, you're not that body, spirit, soul. And you're not that mind either. So, Dhruva wasn't really true to his self at first. But by the process of devotional service, including the chanting of the holy name, he cleansed away all of the crud, and his ecstatic self came out when he actually saw Vishnu. And he was ashamed of having prayed for anything material. So this is, of course, Lord Chaitanya's teaching, Nadanang Nadanang Nusundarim, and then following verses, there's a long purport coming up, one of the longest in the book, which deals with this whole question of what is the motive of our preaching, what of our prayer, of the prayer. Prayer entails that you're requesting, the implication is you're requesting something from God. But if you don't know what to ask for, you're bound to ask for something material. And so that's self-defeating. In other words, if you get your prayer and you get your money, you get your security here, then you just prolong your material life. That's what all the demigod worship is about. And they're really meant for that. What does Krishna say in the 7th chapter? Those who are not who are in knowledge, they surrender unto me, unto Vasudeva, understanding that I'm everything. Bahonam janmanamante gyanabam mam papadyate. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So this is the jnani who approaches the Lord in knowledge, not getting deviated by any material thing. And but that's very rare, very, very rare. The more common thing is kamaistaista vridigyana papadnyante anya devata, that your real knowledge is stolen away by all of these material desires, and you approach some gods for that. I chanted a few rounds up in the lobby today, and I was looking at that empty spot above the door, which I think Ganesh is going to occupy. Right? Isn't that the idea? On the other side, not here. Garuda's here. Ganesh is on the other side. Isn't that the plan? Yeah. So, I'm just wondering how that's going to play out. Because the Indians all walk in, oh, it's Ganesh. And they're going to, maybe they'll spend their time out in the lobby praying to Ganesh. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions about Ganesh. How come you got Ganesh? Because I've never seen that in a Western temple outside of India. But Maharaj saw it. It's in the Nectar of Devotion. If you read that, that's one of the things which Prabhupada never instituted. Huh? Yeah, I'm sure it's bona fide. But why? But anyway, it'll be okay, hopefully. But the idea is that, Ganesh is there in these Hindu temples. I've seen them, in my travels, where they got everybody up on the altar. There's Lakshmi Narayan, there's Shiva, there's Kali, and Ram is usually there with, Lakshmi, just to cover all the bases. But that's an offense, right? Don't we say that every day? To think that to equate the names of the demigods and the forms of the demigods with Krishna. So that all this demigod worship is a symptom of material desires and the desire to have those fulfilled. But this whole movement begins with that verse, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, is to only aspire for pure love for Krishna and to follow in the footsteps of the devotees who have attained that. But it's not easy, because in the process of worshipping the Supreme Lord, naturally our heart isn't completely pure, and we have so many other desires. and one of those is liberation, which manifested the desire to be in a very comfortable position in devotional service. But actually, if you study the Bhagavatam and the history of our movement, the greatest devotees all went through some difficulty. I'm just reading in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri's wonderful devotional service. When Lord Chaitanya is on his way to Puri, after taking sannyas, they stop in Ramuna. And there's that pastime of the Chora Gopinath, who stole the condensed milk for Madhavendra Puri, because he wanted to taste it. So, in a sense, there's a certain parallel there. He had this material desire. It was a purely spiritual desire. He's at such a high level. He had installed Gopal in Vrindavan. The whole first part is how he had this dream, and Gopal appeared to him, and he said, "I'm buried." The Muslims were threatening the temple, and the Pujari buried me here, and then took off. And so I've been here for a long time. I've been waiting for you. Now, please excavate me. So he took the villagers out there. He was so saintly, they immediately listened to him, and sure enough, there was a deity, and they were all ecstatic. So there's installed, and the deity worship was going on nicely. But then he had another dream, and the dream was that I'm still very hot, from all my time in the ground there, and it's summertime. So go to Puri and get me a bunch of sandalwood. Only you can do it. It's quite a trek. There's no transportation except the feet. He's walking all the way from Vrindavan down to Puri, and on the way he comes to Ramuna, which I haven't been there, but I guess it's fairly near Orissa, or toward that direction. So there he's with Nityananda, and Mukunda Gadadhar is with him, and Jagadananda, someone else. He's got a small party with him. And so he's telling this story. He's ecstatically telling the story of Madhavendra Puri, his Param Guru. And so Madhavendra Puri, went to the temple and asked him, "What kind of prasadam do you prefer?" He's always thinking, "How I can prepare it for Gopal." He says, "We specialize in this kheer, this condensed milk. It's known throughout the sweet world, Amrita Keli." So he was thinking, if I could, when the offerings happen, if I could taste a little, I could find out what's in it, and then I could prepare something for Gopal. So his motive was entirely spiritual. But he felt so ashamed of having something that looked like a material desire. So he attended the arti, and then he went out, didn't say a word, and went out into the marketplace and was just chanting at night, like that. So he was doing penance, a simple little thing like that. But Gopinath, he wanted to fulfill Madhavendra's desire, just like Vishnu wanted to fulfill Dhruva's desire. There is a parallel. So he hid one pot of the sweet rice. They offered 12, I think. I think it's sweet rice. It's actually kheer. And then the Pujari had a dream. He says, get up. I've stolen this pot of sweet rice from Madhavendra. Go find him and give it to you. You didn't see it because of my tricks, but it's behind my cloth, So the Pujari gets up. He's amazed at this dream and ready to go to the Pujari. And he thinks it's a better idea. He should take a bath before going on the altar. That's in there. He bathes, goes on the altar, gets the pot. It's right where Gopinath said it was. And he goes out into the courtyard or the marketplace. Will he who is known as Madhavendra Puri come and get the kheer? Gopinath has stolen this kheer for you. Madhavendra was amazed. He comes out, and there's the pot. He drinks it, and then he breaks the pot into little pieces, shards. And if you read this, and then each day he eats a little bit. And his mind goes into ecstasy again. So, but then he thinks, oh my God, when people, it's all at nighttime. When the day comes and people hear about this, they're going to be streaming, they're going to be glorifying me. I don't want that, so he takes off. He doesn't want any glorification for himself. Gets to Puri, but his reputation has already preceded him. Everyone knows about it. And he's able to get that sandalwood, 82 pounds, we figured it out, which he's got a couple of helpers carrying him back. So it's... the very tinge or the hint of a material desire, he was ashamed at. So how to get to that point? Well, it's not easy. but the process of devotional service that we have been given is designed to purify our heart to that point, where our only desire, the only desire left in our heart, is to somehow serve Krishna and to give his service to others. You can imagine how ecstatic that would be. Okay. So let's see. Any comments or questions on these points? Return home. Now you can, what happens is, in the course of these 36,000 years, we don't exactly know when, but Uttama, his brother, went out in the forest and was killed by the Yakshas. And Dhruva, part of the Kshatriya spirit, he went out and started slaughtering these Rakshas by the millions and thousands of millions. So you can see, in a sense, he still got that spirit, because he was, who knows, he's in this Krishna's pastime. But being a king is not the ideal position for devotional service. And whatever, he got distracted. He got a little bit affected by the mode of passion, but he comes out of that and he refrains. When was it Kuvera? I think Kuvera came down to ask him to stop. But he's entangled. You can see why he didn't want the kingdom at that point. Break his meditation. But in the end, Dhruva is the Vaikuntha airplane comes down, and famously, you know how he gets up on the airplane? He steps on the head of death personified. So this is a wonderful story. Any discussion on these points? Otherwise, I'll read another verse. Go ahead.
You were just mentioning Ganesh.
Mm-hmm.
And how there'll be Ganesh, in the lobby there up on the
Is he going to be doing the lying thing? I think that's what he did. Anyway.
I don't know what he'll do. I don't know. But, so if someone was to ask us, why do you have Ganesh there? What would you say that we would say? Of course,
I think it would be pertinent for all of us to check to read the little passage in the Nectar of Devotion. It's one of the 64 things, and what Ganesh is he helps to destroy the impediments to devotional service. So you can pray to him for that. That's a bona fide prayer for a Vaishnava, Gaudiya Vaishnava, to Ganesh. But he's famous, for helping your business and stuff like that. We're not praying him for that. So we can explain that every time, the first time people see him. It will be a talking point. But we can also say that in addition, one can pray to Lord Nrsingadev. Lord Nrsingadev also has the same effect. He not only protects the Vaishnava, protects the movement, the Guru, but he protects our devotion if we pray to him. Famously, the prayer from Prahlad Maharaj. So that's the reason we have Ganesh there. It's right in the Nectar of Devotion.
what about the Saraswati? Because we chant that verse every day. The Narayanam Namaskritya Nalam Shava Darotam Devam Saraswatim. Does Prabhupada talk about Saraswati in that purport? Where is that?
That's right near the beginning of the Bhagavatam.
Right.
It's in the first canto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think where Sutta Goswami says that. Saraswati is the goddess of learning. So she's inspiring, Vyasadeva and Shukadev, everyone who speaks. So I always like to say that since it's bona fide. Hare Krishna. Well, let's see. What do we got here? I'm sorry? There's something called the Principle of Devotional Service, and it's the 64. Ganesh, Ganesa. And there are many other mentions in all the other books, so you could easily find it. Or maybe in the Ganapati, though. Look up both Ganapati and Ganesh. There's no way you can miss it. Ganesha and Ganapati. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna just read one more verse, maybe and the purport, and then we can stop, and then you can have a nice big one. Viduruvacha sudurlabam yat padamam padam hare mayavinas tat chadanarchanar jitam labdvapya siddhartam ivaika janmana katam samatna namamanyatartavit. Sri Vidura inquired, "My dear Brahman," he's asking Maitreya, "the abode of the Lord is very difficult to attain. It can be attained only by pure devotional service, which alone pleases the most affectionate, merciful Lord." Dhruva Maharaj achieved this position even in one life, and he was very wise and conscientious. Why then was he not very pleased? Purport. Saint Vidura's inquiry is very relevant. The word artavit, which refers to one who knows how to discriminate between reality and unreality, is very significant in this connection. An artavit is also called a paramahamsa. A paramahamsa accepts only the active principle of everything. Just as a swan accepts only the milk from a mixture of water and milk, a paramahamsa accepts only the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his life and soul, neglecting all external material things. Dhruva Maharaj was in this category, and due to his determination, he achieved the result he desired. That's a comma there. That should definitely not be there. Give me a second. But still, when he returned home, he was not very pleased, and I think we discussed that. He was ashamed. As pure as he was ashamed that he had any kind of material desire. Artavit. What is that arta? The swarta. Natebedu swarta katimi Vishnu. That those who are too much wrapped up in material affairs and material consciousness, they have no idea that the real goal of the soul is Vishnu. And so what durashya bahirarta manina, they have their mind is immersed in external goals. It's like, there's where is all the money going these days? And everyone's concerned about that in present day society. It's all going to the 1% or 1/10 of 1%, and everyone else is suffering. So there's this financialization of the whole world economy, especially in America. That's where the guys who can manipulate the money, the Wall Street guys and everything, hedge fund manner, they become millionaires and billionaires. And so that's arta. Arta means money. That's one of the main reasons of it. So their mind is absorbed in that day and night. They're dreaming of it. They're waking up. They're wondering, what's happening? Nowadays you have world markets. They're always open somewhere, So in spite of having, millions or even billions of dollars, they're in that consciousness, Lakshmi consciousness, which is, you read the fifth canto, there's so many hells for people who are doing that. If all they're doing is getting and spending and exploiting. And what happens is you're seeing everything through the eyes of mammon. How can I exploit this? How can I exploit that? And you see people like that too. Animals, people, everything is simply a means to make more money. Just like now, there's this actual neo-fascist who's taken over in Brazil. I'm just praying the devotees are going to be okay in there. But one of his main points of getting his election was, we're going to really get into the Amazon forest. We'll tear down all the trees, and we'll be able to sell the land. They sell it mostly for cattle raising, and all those minerals in there, Hello, the Amazon forest, which is like half as big as the United States or something. It's huge, or it's big. Is kind of known to be the lungs of the world. Do you know that? I don't know if you know that, because all these trees give off oxygen, and they absorb carbon dioxide. So it's extremely short-sighted and totally demonic to just see the Amazon as something to exploit. But that's what these guys see. The world is coming to an end. because of all of the poisons putting out and the exploitation and the global warming and the wars that are coming. But this is a perfect example of chapter 16. You only know the immediate exploitation. The hell with everyone else, just move over everybody. So that's the nature of Kali Yuga. Read the 12th canto. The only countervailing force is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness, yes, by means of chanting the holy name. Okay, what is it? Here, get the mic. Uh-oh. Is it a verse or is it just part of the list there? What does it say? Okay.
In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada writes, one should begin the worship of the demigod Ganapati, who drives away all impediments in the execution of devotional service. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Ganapati worships the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimhadev, and in that way has become auspicious for the devotees in clearing out all impediments. Therefore, all devotees should worship Ganapati.
There you go. So, in other words, it's still back to Nrsimhadev, but because you're worshiping one who worships him, you get more mercy there. Interesting. All right, so we can start that today. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.